Yes, I care if she brings me spring, but don't care about nothing. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. In the dawn of the silvery day, clouds seem to melt away. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. Magic mushrooms out of dreams. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Some men of yellow, gray disappears, flying on the raven's wing. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Yes, I care, she brings me spring, but don't care about nothing. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. Magic mushrooms out of things. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. She brings the rain. In the dawn of the silvery day, clouds seem to melt away. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, 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 she brings the rain.
Hello guys, this is Brooklyn English with shout out. Today I have a special guest, Malcolm Mooney from the band Can. Malcolm, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for being here.
The track you just heard is She Brings the Rain. It's a pretty famous track which was placed on a lot of movie, probably heard it on a movie called Lisbon Story by Wim Wenders. And we just wanted to bring back Malcolm. We had him a couple of months ago, but we wanted to bring him back because it was a special couple of weeks ago. One of the key members from Can passed away. Holger Suke, the bassist of Can, and we just wanted to remember him and also welcome back Malcolm. And just to give you a little overview again about Can, I'm sure a lot of you guys know who they are, but it's a German rock band who really was founded in the 60s, around 68. 4 key members: Holger Suke on the bass, Irmin Schmidt on the keyboards, Michael Caroli on the guitar, Jackie Libertzeit on the drums, and today Irmin Schmidt is the only one founding member who is still alive. but the music is still around and amazing. The group has had several vocalists, and Malcolm was actually the first one. He started with the band with that first album called Monster Movie, and then came back later in the 90s with an album called Right Time. And yeah, we're a pleasure to have him today, and we're going to talk about the band. The reason why Can is named Can, because it's actually Malcolm who came up with the name. And yeah, so now, welcome Malcolm again.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, I'm actually going to start with that question. Why did you Why did you come up with the name Can? A lot of people have said that it was a reference to communism, anarchism, and nihilism. What were your thoughts about
that? Was Jackie's. That was Jackie's statement, I think. I came up with the idea because I was trying to figure out how I was going to stay in Cologne, and I thought, well, I can do this. So I started saying, we'll call the band Can, and that way I really was able to stay in the band in Cologne. I think the name changed to The Can at one time, and then it became Can as later on. But it was about trying to convince myself to do this with Jackie and Holger, Mickey and Ermin. That's 1968. Then I believe that the communism, anarchism, nihilism came up later on in the discussion. I think that might have been after I left in 69, 70. I had never seen that. No business like show business. I never saw that at that time. So I think that covers it. But I was there. My whole trip there was about, I was in Paris, and I saw Hildegard Schmidt, and that's how this whole, there's a book out called I think it's the $100,000 Misunderstanding, or the $100 Misunderstanding. But it was a misunderstanding about studio.
Yeah.
I'm a painter. I was in art school, and the word studio came up, so I said, oh, studio must be an art studio. Mm-hmm. And that's why I took the train to Cologne, not realizing that studio was going to be inner space studios in Norwich. When then, at that time, I felt, okay, I will stay here, work here, and I didn't have no idea though that this was going to turn into. How many years later are we now? We're 68 to 2017.
And what? How did you meet them actually? Like, tell us a little bit more. How did it all start?
I used to work for a guy here in New York, Ed Clark, an artist. And his if you had asked him that statement, he would say, well, "Do you want the truth or the lie?" So, I'll give you a version of that. I left New York in 1968, and I was traveled overland to India and back. Arrived in Paris, and then I met Hildegard Schmidt in Paris. And she approached me. Well, I was staying at Serge Cherepin. I don't know if you know that name. He's the inventor of Serge synthesizers. And so I met her there, and she said, well, why don't you come to Germany? And so I took a train. This is actually going to be part of a book that I'm writing. But went to Germany. We have
confidential information right now.
Yeah. So as we skip along like this, and next step is in a room with at Ermin's home, Ermin and Hildegard, and I think Hildegard was at work, but Ermin and Mickey, I believe, and Jackie are in the apartment, and we're talking. But I said I would have to go to Denmark to get my things, but we talked for a while, and they said, "Oh, you ever done any music?" And I said, "Yeah, I used to be in a church choir, and I had a band, not my band, but there was a group of us that had a group called the 6/5. Anyway, again, we go along, we skip ahead, and we're at the Slosh Norwich. I'm at that time there's 6 members. David Johnson was another member, and we're in the studio. I think I'm trying to remember the first song. Not outside. Love down is a place of mind around his corpse, and it has found the emerging different beauty that is you, and with you, mother screaming, I am mother. I don't even think that's not the first song, but anyway, just go right ahead. Bzzz. And then we did. I'm trying to remember because Erman does the diagram for this song, an A B C kind of diagram, linear, and that's how this song. I think it's Father Can I Yell actually.
And tell us a little bit more. How was it like in the '60s? You were the only person coming from the other side of the Atlantic at a time where there was like a lot happening with America, Vietnam War. Also, there's like a lot of new circles coming up in Cologne. What was who were you with, and what were the artistic circles, and again, like why Germany when you were coming from the other side?
Well, German is interesting because I never thought about Germany in terms of historically. I was following some kind of lead, I guess. I was asked or invited to go to Germany. I had no idea about. I had an idea about what Germany had been through, but no idea about the cultural scene in Germany. Kind of interesting though. Besides what was forming with the can, there was a lot of other things happening outside that. There's Amendouls going on there. Then in Dusseldorf at the time, there's a lot of artistic direction going on with Saturdays. I believe it was Fridays, Saturdays. Open museums in Dusseldorf opened up to artists to work on Saturdays doing installation pieces in the gallery. It started to feel like a lot like a home, an artistic body. Then I used to work also. Erman Hildegard was part of the art scene there, if I'm not mistaken, and so she. There's a man by the name of Ulrich Ruckreem in the castle in the Schloss Norwich, and I worked with, not every day, but I worked with Ulrich. There's a couple of photographs of us. I'm holding up some rebar that he had just bent into shape, and then also I did some. He took me out with him to do some installations, so I worked with him for a minute. Very interesting sculptor, and I think he's been in the Biennale, etc. But he's very well known, I think, now.
And you wanted to talk a bit more, especially about Holger, who, like I said earlier, passed away sadly on September 5th, and also Jackie Liebeseit, who passed away last year. I think I actually just learned today that Holger was like a student of the experimental composer Karl-Heinz Stockhausen, and then he moved away from that and did his own style. And I think Jackie and Holger were very like key in the band to come up with improvisation, composition, sampling, collage. And I think a track which is really a great illustration about that is You Do Right. It's like the result of 6-hour tapping, improvisation, experimentation, editing with you. Do you want to talk a little bit more about your interaction with both musicians?
Jackie, who passed back in I think the end of January, and I had spoken with Jackie because I lived with Jackie for a while, and the thing about Jackie was a few words, but a lot of drumming. He and Holger battled. Verbally, I don't know much about the chasing him around with anything, but I know they battled over the musical direction but when it came down to the music, they were right in tune with each other, I believe. And Holger in his engineering is something special. The track in You Do Right, it has a very interesting. He had a very interesting approach to to the bass line, and he used some other techniques that I don't know if anybody else had used at the time. Don't give away secrets, Malcolm. And so it was he was an interesting, very interesting person. I didn't deal with Holger that much, except for when it came to the music. Then but Jackie and I lived together, and Gert Dudek lived in that same apartment down in Domstrasse. But Jackie, when it came to, I remember this distinctly because I was trying my best to say I want the drums to sound like this, and Jackie, we were looking at each other, and Jackie said, okay, Malcolm, get on the drums and play what you want me to play, which canceled me out completely because I couldn't hit the cymbal and the tom-tom at the same time anyway. So I said, Jackie, you take it from here, forget it, you do what you have to do. But he was, when it came to the sound, I noticed that Jackie was able to think ahead so that he could play the rhythm, the first part of the rhythm, or a rhythm, and then he could change. He'll come back and dub over it and make the new rhythm. To me, he was like not only they talk about him being like a metronome of some kind, or a what's the word they use for? But he was a scientist. I mean, a scientist in terms of his drumming, as far as I was concerned.
And you said, that Holger, like in his own words, he said about you, Ken wasn't sure which way to go musically until Malcolm Mooney jumped up to the microphone one day and pushed us into a rhythm. And then he said this was, Ken was fresh and that you were a great rhythm talent. This was Malcolm Mooney, and he got integrated very much into what all the other musicians did. I think he was the right singer in the right place at the right time. So you had a very strong collaboration together, like really, complementary.
I think I think Jackie, as on the back of the original Monster Movie album that was put out by Music Factory, it says Jackie was a propulsion engineer. To this day, rhythm is the key factor for me in terms of music. I love lyrics, and I love the pulse. To me, without that, it meanders. I like the idea of that structure, that pulse, and I give Holger a lot of pluses for what he was able to do with the band, including the idea I was telling you about being in the Schauspielhaus in Zurich, where he was designing the new bass speaker cabinets there. Interesting because I can look now at Holger down at Outer Space Studios down in the south of France, where we're sitting around having lunch, might have been dinner. And Holger, we're having shrimp, or as some kids would say, shrimps. We're having shrimp, and Holger is eating, not just peeling the shrimp. Holger is eating the whole shrimp, shell and all. And I'm saying to myself, must be quite a cleansing sort of factor if you're eating the shells too. You know what I mean? But Holger was that type of person. He plays French horn, I think, in one of the right time tracks. I think he's playing French horn. And I remember in his studio, he had, I think, like 6 to 8 24-track machines at one time. He was a brilliant man. And I wrote a piece. I think did I send that to you, that piece that I wrote about him? I think he was, he was a good person, a good person to play with. Jack, on the other hand, not the other hand, but Jackie, I wrote to Jackie back in January to ask him about the gig that we were going to do at the Barbican Center.
That's right before he passed away?
Yeah. And Jackie passed away, I forget the end of in fact, I'm invited to go to the Philharmonic in Cologne to do a tribute, tribute
to Can?
To Jackie, for Jackie, it's on the 22nd of January. And, but I had called Jackie maybe 2 weeks before that and said, "How do you feel about the gig?" And he said, "Well, I'm not really interested in. I'm glad we're doing the gig, but I'm not interested in repeating the same music the way it was done." And back in the days, he's progressive. He's a progressive. I want to do something. I don't mind doing doing the lyrics and stuff, but I want to do it a different way now. And actually, I wish I could remember that there's a track that Jackie did with his Chaos.
Oh, you know what we can do? Maybe I will actually play "You Do Right" because that's the track you keep mentioning, and then maybe it's gonna come back.
Okay.
If you mind.
A believer out of me. Do right, you do right. I 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 do right, you do right. And I ask what's wrong, I say okay. I'm in love with my girl, she's away. Man, got to move on, man, you got to move on, man. Need your help, I need your love today. Once I was blind, now I can see. Now that you're in love with me, you made a believer out of me, babe. You made a believer out of me, she said. You do right. I do you do right. I do you do right. You do it right. I need you not. I do you do right. When they ask what's wrong, I say I'm okay. Man, got to move on, man. You got to move on, man. I'm in love with my girl, she's gone away to stand.
So we're gonna skip a little bit the track to just illustrate what Malcolm just talked about regarding the rhythm.
Once I was blind, now I can see. Once I was blind, but now I can see. Now that you're in love.
So it was "You Do Right," and now Malcolm, I want to talk a little bit more about you as well in the band. Did you write a lot of the tracks? If so, what was your writing process? Did you improvise on the go when you discovered the melody?
I wrote the lyrics for Monster Movie, Delay, some of the Right Time. all the things that I'm on in Can I wrote the lyrics for, but the process does not come um, is not as simple as I'd like to think it. The process came. I was like listening to the music, and maybe it has to do a lot with the rhythm, and also on You Do Right was actually a letter that was written back to a friend back in um, Boston. So the idea came, but the lyric, actually the written lyrics came afterwards. Most of my work was done improvisational, with the exception of um, Outside My Door. Um, and there's a quote in there. I think it says, does it say, and Jackie said that, and that is what Jackie had said. I think it's the idea was the five colors make the ear blind, and I there all of it becomes written as I go along and do the improvisation. Um, uh, the right time. Well, let's see. The Vin Vendors movie. Last night with Last Night's Sleep in it. Last Night's Sleep. Last Night's Sleep. I believe it was written on the plane going over to Dusseldorf, and it was the idea was actually, if I'm not mistaken, the idea. I did not know exactly about the context of the film. It was just about the idea. I had this idea about a song. And interesting enough, when we got into the studio, I don't know, it's like Mickey Caroli actually was able, we just started doing it and the thing worked perfectly. It's the first time with with Can that anything went down as quickly as it went down. I think there was one error, not error, but there was one place where a flat and a sharp was actually changed by computer. And I said, oh, we should do the takeover again. And Renee said, no, come here, I'll show you what we'll do. And he goes to the computer, and the line is already, this is always to me like the most interesting or uninteresting part of doing studio stuff. He goes to the computer, the key. Usually it's, let's take that, take five, do it one more time. Okay, wait a minute, no, change it, take six, okay, do that, roll it, take seven. And so I'm saying to myself, maybe it's going to come a point where they don't need to have any musicians. And then I said, well, that's terrible. And now I'm thinking about all the music I hear that I think there's no story, there's no drama, there's, I mean, I love musicians, I love what they're trying to do, but I was listening to some country music at one point. Country songs with stories are great. I mean, and R&B stuff, the Persuasions, the War, who else? War, Four Tops, songs that have drama, have this wonderful, like, go back to Marvin Gaye's What's Going On, talking about what's happening in the world, and not only what's happening in the world, but with a beat, with something that's really dramatically beat. And also having the musicians. There's a friend of mine, he's passed now, his name was Charlie McGee. He was a trumpet player, Charlie McGee, and he had we played at the Studio Rib B, Sam Rivers' place down in Manhattan, and to hear the band play, hear the real musicians playing the music, and right now I do a shout out for some people right quick. There's a shout out for Chris Goodmacher up in Boston, for Alex Marcello over in the Bronx, for Devin Braja Waldman, wherever you are, there's some, and I mean, not even the 10th Planet, the 11th Planet guys, people I played with, Baba Don. There's some musicians out here that are just qualified. Oh, my brother-in-law and the family up in Bostonia, boy, up in Boston, man. They are some very hip players. Bill Mooney McCoy plays like nobody. He's the up-and-coming, I think, keyboard player, teaches up in the Boston area. There's some, Ethan, hello. There are some great musicians out here. And I'm sure there's some great musicians listening. So, one more guy. He's a saxophone player. J.D. Perrin, the brother, J.D. These guys, they are cookers. Anyway, and there's more of you.
Well, and I'm going to give you like 2 more minutes at the end because I think the list is long. But the time is flying, so I'm just going to move to the next question. I know you did a reunion show this year, a couple of months ago, with in London, with Irmin Schmidt, with Thurston Moore, with Tiff Shelley, with Deb from My Bloody Valentine. Obviously, it was a little bit of a different setup, especially without Jackie, and I guess it continues with a tradition of redefinition and improvisation, and that's also the musical process which inspires you. How was it?
Thurston, hello out there. Thurston Moore, Thurston Moore, Pat Thomas, Steve Shelley, Valentino Ma, Tom Relic, James Sedgwood, Deb Googe. They were fantastic. We had a great time. I mean, props out to all of them. I mean, it was a pleasure. We had 3 days of rehearsal, 3 9-hour days of rehearsal, and then if you go on YouTube, there's a thing we did with Thurston Moore at the Cafe Otto in London. We had a great time, and that's when I met Devin Braja Waldman, who we played with at his aunt's place on September 1st, and played at his aunt Ann Waldman, and we played at up in some people call it Montpellier, whatever. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The French, do it please one more time.
Montpellier.
Yeah, we go. Vermont. We're up there. We had a great gig up at the Bookspieler. Guys at the Bookspieler, Nate and Zave, how you doing up there? We had a great time up there, and it was improvised. Alex Marcello on keyboard. He's wonderful musician. In fact, Oscar Arce, who is putting something together for a Blu-ray plus. We got an idea. I was going to use AK, which it means ass kicking. We have a wonderful piece coming out, along with some artwork in the next year. Plus, we just got a notice that we have an idea for a new album with Alex Marcello and myself. Plus, Devin and Chris. There's a lot of things happening. What was the question? What was the question?
What was the question? You're improvising with your own speech. I love it. No, well, maybe I want to play a little bit of music. Know you love that track. That track is called Thief, and it was actually also performed as a cover by Radiohead. And I think you got upset because they credit you at the beginning, but maybe
they didn't use. I think they missed a few lyrics.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say that Radiohead are actually influenced by Can, and I could see why. But maybe we'll play it, and then you can improvise more with the questions.
share that others fade. But the Jesus man said, not now, my brother, not now. It's far too late, 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 far too late. Do what you must, take what you can, steal the pride from every heart, every angry man, every angry man, every angry
Man.
A cappella version right now. That was Thief. Okay, Malcolm. So what I also wanted to know is between the album Delay 1968 and 1989, you were not part of the band. What did you do? I think you developed other things yourself, other solo projects, your own music. You also were very present as a painter, and you told me the last time I met you, you told me that you built a lot of influences from Coltrane, from Love Supreme. Tell us a little bit more about all of this.
Well, Love Supreme, 60s, the fact that the album, the length of the album, not only Love Supreme also, but Kula Se Mama, to me they were very important pieces for me to hear. Maybe it's because I wanted to play saxophone, and I had a teacher, Charles Davis, who passed. He was a four-time Fulbright scholar, and he was the person that actually did the recommendation for me to get into California State University, Los Angeles, for my master's degree. But I had a studio in Boston, the Chickering Piano Factory, and I was, I want to play sax. Man, John Coltrane sounds so great, man. Can I play something like that? And I didn't have the chops, but I wanted to play that saxophone. I had a tenor. And I started playing, and then Charles said, let's go over to the I think it was Morley's. It's in Boston. It was a club in the afternoon. We went over there, and Charles started playing as he could play so well. And he's playing, and then he said, okay, Malcolm, hit it. And I went off to some tangent somewhere, and we got up the bandstand. There was a couple of guys standing over by the bar and everything. They just, they nodded, and and I went back to my studio, which was in the piano factory. And when I got there, Charles said, Malcolm, you're a great painter. and that in itself said to me, well, I don't need to play saxophone any longer, right? But that was those sounds from they're on impulse, actually. Those two, Kula Se Mama, well, the whole Coltrane legacy was instrumental, and I thought improvisation to me could be part of the way I see the music, hear the music, play the music, do the music. And I know some of it's written, but some of it is where there's an improv section, beautifully done. I figure that artists, that's part of the tradition of the singing. There's another part to your question, but
No, you improvised. But and then you came back in 1989 with the what you call the reunion album, Right Time, and you also, like, later on, you mentioned it earlier, you composed with the rest of the band a track called Late Night Sleep for Wim Wenders' movie in 1999 called Until the End of the World. But back to that album, Right Time, in 1989, it must have been really impressive to be there at that time, like bigger collapse of the Berlin Wall. What was, and then I think you were recording a lot in France. How was it to be back in the band at a time where Europe was like going in a lot of different directions?
86, is that 86? 86, I think, right.
But the album came out in 1980.
Yeah. And but we got a good deal there initially. We did the recording in south of France at Mickey's studio, and it went well. In fact, it got some good promo on it. They got some good. I think it got number 4. We did very well in terms of the charts on that. Not sales, but in terms of people who accepted the new album. A lot of buzz on it. Anyway, it was for me. It was a good album. Right Time was it's on that album, the original album. It says lyrics by Malcolm Mooney, music by Can. That's on the original album. On the second edition of the album, it doesn't say that. It says Can. But that was done at Mickey's studio and down in France. And I forget the question. Lost. Mickey, who I respect dearly, he came to the States actually at one point and played at the Cooler. We didn't play the Right Time, but he came and we played. He asked me to come down and play. And I forget the year that was. That was on Warner Chaparral, I think, if I'm not mistaken. The Vim Vendor film was the tracks were on Warner Chaparral. I've lost contract.
But how is it for you when the album came out in 1989? Were you still in Germany when the Berlin Wall collapsed?
No, I was not. No, I was in New York. I was in California from 82 to 87. And then I was in New York in 80. I was actually working for the Board of Education in the late 80s. And then I was working in the Board Ed. And I was living in New York State at the time. I heard the album. I heard the album. I was pleased with the album because for the first time I was able to sign it off as my lyrics actually, and Jackie, Mickey, Erman, because to me we were doing some very good work at the time. There is a song that is on which was part of that season because we did 36 tracks. 36 tracks for that album, for that date, and only 8 of those tracks came out. There's actually 20 some tracks left that have not been published. And what happened was one of the tracks where Erman, it's called "While Here Away," which is on the White Columns 006 album, I think it is. That album to me is a fantastic. That's with Alex Marcello and Luis El Paña Tovar. That album, I thought, but the original idea came from Erman. Was a Can idea, which was then I asked Can about the idea. Could I take the idea? They said yes, you can have this idea if you want it. You did the lyrics, so go ahead. So we redid the song onto White Columns with the and that goes a big cheer goes out to Matthew Higgs and White Columns Gallery because they actually have been a big plus in my life, artistically, visual arts and musically. They've been because I play with them. I play at the Art Basel Miami. I've done that twice with them through White Columns.
So it's perfect that you're talking about you right now because we have 10 more minutes and I wanted to touch base about your career. If nowadays, like I say, Erman is the only one from Canada who is still around. Are you still in touch with him? And can you...
Erman is right.
Yeah. And can you tell us a bit more if can reflect something on your career nowadays? You have like all the bands yourself, Hysterica, The 10th Planet. We're going to play a track called I Dream of You. But are you still in touch with the only member of
yes, nice. I've written to Erman, not recently, but I am in touch with both Hildegard Erman and Sandra. That's one thing that's been happening. I respect them greatly for putting me on the set. Still, Ehrman is a fantastic composer. Um, the show at the Barbican. It was wonderful to see him conducting the London Symphony Orchestra. It's a huge plus to see, and we're all getting to we're at an age, where it's good to have the audiences, and good to have people hear us, what we've been doing, and catching up, I guess, of what we're doing. It's funny that that the thing is, oh, you're ahead of your time kind of thing. Well, maybe time has slowed down and caught up with us, or we've caught up with time or something. But that's the right time. So everything that we've done so far has been a big plus for me. The 5 members came from different backgrounds, basically, and I think that mesh made it happen. Along with Hildegard's push. I mean, Hildegard I have to give her credit. She has done a hell of a job with promoting the band, keeping us in the light.
And do you feel like right now, like today, now you have your own projects, and I would love for you to talk about it. But do you feel like it has influenced you?
Yeah. There's a bunch of projects that I've been involved with. There's a project I call the Concentric, which is a project, a sculptural project that has not been. I've been doing drawings for the last 20 years, more than that. That's an idea that's still on the board. I teach up in Calgary. I'm teaching these days.
And you have 2 bands.
Two bands, yeah, and projects with Alex, a lot with Alex, and we're hoping. Devin wrote to me and said, "Well, why don't we do a tour?" That's a possibility now. The 10th, there's something called, I forget the name of the Punks. It's called something Punks out in Los Angeles. There's a show that comes up out there in January. Plus my trip going out to
Cologne. You say?
To Cologne,
yeah.
But my art is key. My painting. I mean, I was trained. Trained is a good word. John Coltrane. I was John Coltrane to do work such as paint, sculpt, and I'm looking forward. They're breaking in. I'm looking forward to creating some more of my art. If you're interested in my art projects, you can get in touch with me by malcolmmooney.com. You go to my site. I'm always glad to. I think you can from there. You can hit me with the email. Purchases are always accepted.
We're going to play. We have 5 more minutes. We'll play. You choose actually. We can play "I Dream of You" by you, Ben, or we can do an acoustic version of "Fall of Another Year," or an acoustic version of
Yes,
She
I
Brings the
Care.
Rain. What do you prefer?
I would do Yes, I Care. She Brings Me Spring. I'll try.
You want to do She Brings the Rain?
Yeah, I'll do a quick.
I do it like Satchmo. I do it. Yes, I care if she brings me spring, but don't care about nothing. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Bum, 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 bum. In the dawn of the silvery day, clouds seem to melt away. She brings the rain. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Samantha yellow, gray disappears, flying on the robin. She brings the rain. Yeah. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Ba 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 ba. Yes, I care if she brings me spring, but don't care nothing what she brings. Oh yeah, she brings the rain. Oh, she brings the rain. It feels like spring. Ooh, ooh. She brings the rain. It feels like spring. Ooh. and she bring the rain, she bring the light, she bring the rain, she bring the rain, she bring the rain, she bring the rain, she bring the rain.
VIP cover. Thanks, Malcolm. I think we're like close to be done, and I will play. It was really good. It was you. It was improvised. We're gonna close the show with a track that you wanted to play because it's just ceremony for the fall.
Yeah.
It's called Fall of Another Year. Do you wanna add anything? Little.
Well, this
shout out?
song was done in the fall. I think the fall of '69, maybe fall of '69. So it's appropriate.
But thank you so much for being here.
Charlotte, thank you for.
Vielen Dank. In German, we say that.
Vielen Dank. Dankeschön.
Yeah, because some people ask if you were speaking German. And
Nine
improvised.
Zen. Elf, 12.
Thanks
13.
so much. And thanks for everybody for tuning in, and thanks François as always, and have a great day.
Tschüss.